right, talking about Ultimate Fantastic Four, Volume 9, Silver Surfer by Mike Carey and Pascal Ferry. This collects issues 42 through 46 of Ultimate Fantastic Four. I like this volume quite a bit. If you recall, in the Ultimate Galactus trilogy, the Galactus Swarm had these antibodies, as Reed called them, that were sent to Earth to basically destabilize things before the Swarm could get there and do its thing. And you might be looking at this and saying, hang on a second, we already saw versions of the Silver Surfer. This does reference that, but this is its own thing. It's similar to the Galactus story as we know it, it just isn't using Galactus, since Galactus, we've already seen a version of Galactus in the Ultimate Universe. And so basically, what happened here, Reed is still working on his cosmic cube, and he needs a power source for the cube. And so he tries to draw energy from a faraway star to power the cube, but what he finds isn't a star, it's the Silver Surfer. And we are told this is the original Silver Surfer that somehow the Galactus Swarm met and then based its antibodies on the Silver Surfer. And the Silver Surfer's origin is very different here than what it is in the main Marvel Universe, but also, the character still feels very true to how he's portrayed in the main 616 universe. In the main 616 universe, Norrin Radd lived on the planet Zenwa. Galactus comes and is about to devour his planet, and he volunteers to be the guy who will go out and find other planets for Galactus to eat in order to save his world. And then eventually, when he gets to Earth, he decides to betray his master. Here, we find out that instead of Galactus, it's actually the Ultimate Universe version of the Psycho Man, who is a character I don't know anything about. I know he showed up in a couple of issues of John Byrne's Fantastic Four run, but other than that, I have not seen this character anywhere. Psycho Man is able to manipulate and create emotions in people, and he is the king of this world. He's very long-lived, and he had all of his subjects just perpetually in endless bliss, and then he wanted someone who would one day replace him as a king of this world, so he turns off his power on young Norrin Radd. And young Norrin Radd sees what this guy is doing. He sees it as imprisonment, basically. So he tries to turn off this emotion power, and then the entire population ends up killing themselves out of, like, you know, they were shocked at what happened to them, and they kind of didn't know what to think, and they all ended up dying. And so the Psycho Man turns Norrin Radd into the Silver Surfer and says, you need to go and find a new population for me to be the king of. And so then eventually, once Reed accidentally draws Silver Surfer here to Earth, then Silver Surfer calls the Psycho Man to Earth, and then he kidnaps. This is where I'm a little fuzzy. I think he only kidnaps the population of New York for some reason. I don't know if his powers have a limit, but at one point he does have all of New York basically is like, yay, we're doing the happy dance. And I can't tell if he only got New York, and because at one point Reed says something about 8 million people, then later he said 6 million people. There's a whole lot more people than that on planet Earth, so I'm thinking he only got the population of New York. I don't know if it was 8 million or 6 million, but he kidnaps all of New York, I'm assuming, and then he also kidnaps the Fantastic Four. He turns Reed into just an idiot who can barely string two words together. Ben is just kind of sits on the ground, and he can only say like one word at a time, and then they all think that they are, like, their names are different. Reed is like Dave Tum something. Anyway, then seemingly all hope is lost because none of our heroes know who they are, and they're not able to resist the Psycho Man turning them into happy idiots. And then the Silver Surfer basically reaches out to Reed and says, hey, I need to tell you something. And then he's able to basically fix Reed so that he remembers who he is. And then Reed kind of has sort of a philosophical debate with the Psycho Man, and that is how the Psycho Man is defeated, and then also the Psycho Man tries to turn on Reed by having him, basically Reed is now in control of everyone's emotions, and then he thinks this will drive Reed insane, but Sue, Johnny, and Ben, they grab his hands and then they're able to help him, and then Reed is able to turn the tide on Psycho Man. Also, I forgot, Reed's sister is here, and it's really weird. I feel like she's being portrayed younger here than she was even in the previous volume. Like, in the previous volume, she had a cell phone, and she was acting like maybe she was high school, like young high school. But here, she's acting like she's like 8 or 9 years old. And I don't know exactly how much time has passed since the first volume, whenever Reed and Ben were still working on stuff in Reed's garage. That was like a year or two before the accident that gave them their powers. And she didn't act like she was 8 or 9 there. But here, she's being written like she's much younger than she was being portrayed in the previous volume and volume 1. And I don't know if that was Mike Carey doing that, or if Pascal Ferry drew her being much younger and then she was written that way. I'm not sure. But anyway, she basically is just an annoying little brat who wants to tag along with the Fantastic Four, and then she ends up ruining things quite a bit, but not as much as what Reed ruined things. And it gets a little bit, I don't like this, because at the end, Reed basically says that he wiped everybody's memories of this whole thing. So now nobody remembers that any of this happened. And I don't know, I feel like Reed kind of gets off scot-free here. And this is now, with Volume 1, we're kind of left in the air. Was it Reed's fault that these guys got their powers, or was it Doctor Doom's fault? And then I think we can assume that it was actually Victor's fault, because later on, we see that Victor does make other mistakes with, it's in the Ultimate, not Namor, but it's in the last half of the second Mark Millar run on this series. So we can kind of extrapolate, okay, Doctor Doom was responsible in Volume 1. But then here, we have Reed do something pretty irresponsible. There are hundreds of stars that he could choose from, and then he asks Sue to choose one. She does. And then he doesn't do like any research on that particular star. He just pushes a button, and then later he says, well, this isn't behaving like a star. Okay, maybe you should have thought of that before you pushed the button. And he gets off scot-free. Nobody remembers that this happened. At least that's how I read it at the end. At the very least, they don't remember being kidnapped. I'm assuming that he also wiped Carol Danvers and Nick Fury, everybody's memories of this happening. And so it seems like Reed does something that nearly it does get everyone kidnapped, nearly gets him and the Fantastic Four killed, and then he says, okay, it's okay, it didn't happen, nobody remembers that. And we know later on, Reed becomes a supervillain, and I can kind of start to see some hints of that starting here. Overall, I think this is probably my favorite arc from the Mike Carey run. I wasn't just crazy about the Diablo story that came before, and I felt like the Thanos, the big war thing, I felt like that one was way too busy, while simultaneously not a whole lot going on. I think this is easily the best one in this run so far. So those are my thoughts on Ultimate Fantastic Four Silver Surfer. Hope you guys like this video, and I will be back in the future with something else. In the meantime, have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.